There's nothing quite like the sound of hearing your brand new wheel being scraped across the curb, but unfortunately that's what happened to me. I've had these wheels for a little over a year and was able to avoid curbs pretty well until that one fateful night. But hey, it came out of nowhere, so what can I say? This is the repair of that unfortunate mistake. So I'm going to try to avoid using bondo with this. The damage isn't all that deep, so hopefully just sanding and then using this filler primer will be enough to complete the job. This stuff is ideal for metal, glass, wood, whatever. It feels deep scratches and is sandable. So we're gonna hope this stuff can kind of pull us through. Otherwise, we've got a Dremel tool to help us with a 120 grit sanding wheel. We're gonna use very light pressure as this is soft aluminum and we don't need any overkill on this project. So let's get right at it. Alright, what we're going to be doing here is using this Dremel tool with 120 grit sanding wheel on it. We're going to use about 2,000 RPMs and go very, very lightly. We don't want to overkill this. We want to take off as little material as possible to make this nice and smooth. Here's a little bit closer look and to see the process. Really, we're using very light pressure and just moving along, never really stopping in one spot for very long because we'd make too deep of a sanding imprint here. So we're just going to keep the tool moving. You can see we're smoothing the lip out, but we do have some deep gouges in here, so I'm not sure how much farther down I really want to take this. I'm going to go over it a few more times and see what that does, but we'll probably just smooth this out as best we can and then use our filler primer and see what that does for us. After sanding for a while, this is our finished product. As you can still see, we have some deep gouges here that any amount of sanding just isn't going to take out unless you're wanting to gouge your wheel out, but I don't want to do that. So you can see as we move along the edge of the rim here, little gouge marks here and there, and they're certainly noticeable, but we're going to hope the primer does a really good job of filling these in and we can paint over it and call it a day. Again, I'm not looking for perfection with this fix, more or less just a way to make it look mostly nice. If there are still some gouges that we see, that's just going to be how it is. Unfortunately, sometimes that's just how projects go. You can't restore them back to 100% of what they were. But as long as you get close, we'll call it a win. Okay, now to apply our primer filler, we're going to make 2 very light passes. We're going to wait 10 minutes, then we're going to make a medium wet pass. So let's see what we can do. Just spray a little out to get it going. Okay, that's our first coat. We're gonna return in 10 minutes for the second. All right, the second coat is ready to go on. I let this sit for about 15 minutes. Now we're gonna spray again. And remember, this is more of a wet coat on this pass. All right, we'll let that sit. All right, coat number 3, the final coat. I waited about 15 minutes on the last one as well. This will be our last coat. And after 3 coats of primer, this is our final product. As you can see, it was not able to fill in the larger gashes. However, it did a wonderful job on the smaller ones. And to be fair to the product, on the back of the can, it did say it was good for 1/16 of an inch. And these are clearly just a little bit bigger than that, and it was not able to fill those. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. And I think, you know, it's a pretty good option if you have smaller gashes on your wheel. And I probably could have taken the sanding wheel to those deeper spots a little bit better. So that might be something you want to do. I'm not going to do it. Quite honestly, I'm happy with that. The way I look at that is this. You know, this is going to be a damaged wheel that we sanded, We primed, we painted, and we glossed over, and none of those paints necessarily match the powder coating that was done on this. So there's always going to be a hint of variance between all of this, and to really get down and fix this, you know, I guess 100% of the way there with using bondo or maybe sanding a little bit better, I just don't see the added value there, because I think there's always going to be some noticeability within the repair itself. At least I will notice, other people may not, so you have to keep that in mind too. Also, these wheels are going to be repurposed eventually as my wheels I'm going to use for drag tires. So those don't have to be perfect either. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to throw some paint on, we're going to take the tape off and see how it all looks.
And now for the good stuff, the painting. We're going to use Duplicolor Acrylic Enamel. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 2 light coats and then 1 medium wet coat, and allow 10-15 minutes in between. So let's spray a little bit out here and get the can going. And we'll paint. All right, that's our first coat. All right, our last step, we're going to use this wheel gloss clear coat. Hopefully give us a nice glossy finish. All right, hopefully that does it.
Okay, we are at the moment of truth, so let's pull our masking off and see how this turned out. To be honest, I'm not really expecting that great of results, but hopefully I'm surprised. Too bad, I got a little overspray over here, so I'm gonna have to get rid of that. But otherwise, and there's gonna be a little cleanup on this lip here, but otherwise, that is not bad. It certainly looks way better than it did before. So here's the overspray, so let's not look at that side. That'll come off, I'm not worried about that. Let's look at this side. You can see this is right where it ends. This is where our new paint is, and here's where it ends. You can see the change right here. But overall, that's not too bad. It looks way better than it did. For the amount of work I put into it, I don't think that's a bad result at all. There's still some masking I need to get rid of here, but I'm going to clean that up, and I'm going to call it good. I'm pretty impressed, actually. That's better than what I thought. And here's just a bit of a closer view for you. You can see where the masking mark is, and this will come off too. And there's a little bit of residue here that I will also remove. But overall, some more residue here, we can see that it actually turned out pretty nice. Again, more residue, can get rid of that. And then just some paint thinner will take this off. I'm not worried about this at all. But I'm surprised it got through the masking. I thought I did a pretty good job, but I guess not. To quickly recap, I didn't want to use bondo on this wheel. It didn't seem to me like the damage really called for it. Instead, I wanted to try this filler primer from Duplicolor, and it really did do the job really well, except for those areas that were just a little bit deeper than a 1/16 of an inch. I could have worked the sander a little bit harder and probably got those out too. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with this. It did a great job of smoothing out those imperfections in the wheel lip here. And for what I wanted it to look like, it totally worked. The black paint matches well, and the high gloss clear coat does a good job too. So I'm really not too bad. Like I said, you know, the car that this wheel belongs on is kind of one of those cars that looks great at night and about 10 feet away. So the fact that we have a wheel with some imperfections in it really doesn't matter on the grand scale. It certainly looks better than what it did with the curb rash. So I'm very happy with the result, and I would absolutely recommend you guys trying this too. If you don't have a Dremel tool to use, just some sandpaper will work too. It'll just take you a little bit longer. But otherwise, that is it. This is maybe 1 hour repair. So anyway, this video helped you. Please help me and hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in making the channel successful. Really appreciate it. Good luck with your repairs.